Hello and welcome to Sage's Tabletop Table Talks. I'm Sage, this is my table, and I'm going to talk to you about tabletop role-playing games. So, I did a video not too long ago about toxic players and various kind of toxic player behaviors and how to handle it. And this is somewhat of a follow-up, and I think it's heavy, and there's a lot of here because of, I think, so there's toxic players, but then I think there's also something else that needs to be addressed at the table. This is harder to address, but it's also a much lighter issue, and that is problem player behaviors. What is that? Well, a toxic player is much easier to, I don't want to say deal with, but there's a simple universal solution, which is to get them the fuck out of there. Like, if they're spouting weird racist ideology, or if they're one of these creeps, like I've said, I had at my table, where he was weirdly obsessed with wanting to have his noble find a 13-year-old bride, like, that's weird. And the best way to deal with people like that is to boot them and to sit firm no lines. No, this line will not be crossed. No, this line will not be crossed. And that's not what a problem behavior is. Problem behaviors are often a lot lighter, and it's a weird thing to talk about, and it's a lot just because of what a problem player behavior is. And I think that, and I actually went online and found a list, and I'm going to try to remember to link the list below in the description if you want to look at this list. The list is good, as it does go over most of what I would consider to be problem behaviors. I'm probably going to split this into two parts because there's a lot here to cover, because there's a lot of things that are considered problem behaviors, and there's a lot to talk about because so often these problem behaviors are endemic of something deeper, something more about the game that needs to be talked about. Like I said, if they're being openly racist or pedophilic or sexist or, homophobic, whatever, that's not problem behavior. That's a toxic person, and they should be dealt with like you do. But a lot of these honestly aren't even that big a deal, if you ask me. And there's a lot of it that's kind of very endemic of a problem I have with current gaming. And it's so funny because I'm going to do a kind of a follow-up short video after these two. I don't know if it depends on the length of it. I might post it just like a special in the midweek next week, or I might make it a full-on video. It depends on the length and how good of a quality video I think it is. And also probably schedule, like if I'm getting heavy into one of the other projects, or I end up getting like running out of time or whatever, then I'll probably just post it as a regular episode. Being that these are all free, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, sometimes shit's gonna happen and I might have to put up like a quickie, which is pretty much my entire love life is quickie, but that's neither here nor there. Sorry, my dog is coming down the stairs. I don't know why. Anyway, so, but these but like, yeah, it's so funny because like, these like problem behaviors, these kind of weird elements that kind of come about, it's like so weird because like there's a lot of these things that are solutions to a problem that aren't even a problem, that are legitimately just part of gaming, and it really taps into a mindset I think a lot of modern players have. But anyway, so I mean, I might as well just get started because like there's quite a bit here to say. Like I said, they have a list here. They call it the misaligned player. I call it the out of place character. But yeah, they talk about what they call the misaligned character, a character that character or playstyle doesn't fit the campaign's tone. Um, Almost all of their solutions consist of tell them to stop or session zero. Absolutely, that's a great way of handling it. Because I think good session zero really sets the tone for what you want your game to be, the expectations. Obviously, session zeros aren't perfect because you're playing a collaborative storytelling game with multiple people, and the idea that you would lay out everything that's going to be in a one session just isn't a feasible idea. But it's a good place to start. So I agree with that. Session zero. But they talk about use session zero to establish campaigns, tone and goals, helping player align their characters with the campaign's theme. Discuss any concerns early to avoid conflict later on. Okay, but here's my solution. Um, is there weird character being disruptive? Um, Obviously, as a DM, you have the right to veto anything. I am somebody who is starting a Pathfinder 2e campaign, and I decided, and as a joke, because I have this Pathfinder 2e character builder app on my phone, and I like to play with it because it's kind of just fun to just fuck around with it. So I built a time-displaced automaton gunslinger with a heavy focus on tracking and durability. Made an unkillable tracking time-traveling robot. And the person who's running the game said, no, I cannot play a T-800 in his game. Which, what I built was a T-800. I'm really happy with that. Like, dude, look, I built a T-800. It's super cool. And it is super cool, but I also understand. He's like, no, this just wouldn't work in my campaign. And that's fine. I ended up building a champion because when I try new systems, I'll tend to play paladins or wizards. I'm most comfortable with paladins and wizards. They're what I mostly play. So I'll tend toward paladin or a wizard while I get my kind of feet in the system before I branch out into actually playing anything kind of weird and crazy. Once again, whatever. It's not, but it was funny, but the DM said no, you cannot play this character in my game. It just doesn't fit. But honestly, a real big question here is this: is their weird character actively disrupting your game? And when I say actively disrupting, I don't mean somebody playing a silly character in a serious campaign. Like, am I hurting your serious campaign by playing? Did it ruin a horror movie to have that kind of dumbass jock character who can barely tie his own shoes, is kind of annoying and a dick and kind of almost too silly for a movie about people getting machetes in the forehead? Yes, maybe no. Maybe, you mean, obviously your mileage may vary, but like, maybe that's just the role they want to play. Maybe they want to play a character that is diametrically opposite to the world you've created. Once again, I had a friend who was running a Curse of Strahd, and I had a Minotaur monk. And because the way she ran the game, we all kind of like teleported in from our sleep. I don't know as much about Curse of Strahd as, like, I haven't read the module, so I don't know how much she modified and how much is canon to the module itself. Nor would I read Curse of Strahd, because if we ever do decide to pick it up again or do it again, I wouldn't want to spoil too much of myself. I generally don't read modules because mostly I don't find them interesting, but also if somebody wants to run that module, I would like to walk in with as little knowledge as possible. Anyway, I digress. So my character, because he slept naked, woke up in this world naked. He had nothing on his body. But anyway, we went into the first house and we found a baby skeleton. So my character grabbed this baby skeleton. I think the intent was to give it a proper burial, but Strahd comes out and it's like, ha, so, um, something about, welcomed guests, and, I see, and, so my character, so I maybe made a comment about having a gift, so my character, wearing nothing, gave him, like, here, I have this for you, and it became my character's drive, and he was like, I'm not interested in that, and it became one of my character's major driving motivations to get to Strahd, because he was so incensed that Strahd would dare deny this gift my character was giving him, that he was going to force Strahd to take a gift because it is rude not to, and I will not tolerate that rudeness. And it became this kind of running joke, and it was funny, it was laughable, and other players at the table had stories that would make them closer to what you would call a main character in a narrative. And here's the thing, I like playing weird, I like playing off the wall, I like playing silly. I had no problem playing a comic relief character to add levity to situations, while, the other two players who took it, I don't want to say took it more seriously, because, I took it seriously. Like, I role-played my character, and I didn't actively try to hurt the party. I didn't actively try to mess anybody up, but I played a lighter character. And everyone at the table was laughing. We all joked about it. We all talked about it, my character, outside of the game space. So, even though I was playing something not really fitting into the setting, I wasn't doing anything problematic. And if anybody told me, hey, can you tone it down a little bit? I would have toned it down a little bit. But, or a character who's playing a deeply serious character in a more comedy campaign. Here's the thing about that. Deeply serious straight men work for comedy. Watching this character try desperately hard to wrap his head around this stupid world or these stupid people creates comedy. So the real solution here is, if they're not being disruptive, this isn't a problem. Like I said, if you're being way out of line, like if every time one of the other player, he was playing a druid who was one of the what would you call them? I cannot remember the name of the people who live in Barovia, the nomadic people. He was one of them, so if he was having a real deep character moment, I didn't interject, because, I got my chance to tell Strahd that I was mad that he didn't refuse to accept my gift. And he was allowed to have his moments where he was, having, deep, profound character moments about his family and his relationship with these people. So as long as they're not pushing themselves into other people's fun, there isn't a problem here. I don't have to play a deeply serious character in your deeply serious game, nor a deeply comedic character in your deeply comedic game. Sometimes it's okay to have that character that kind of strays wildly, because having and honestly, I half expected my character in Strahd to end up dead at Strahd's hand. I went into that kind of thinking this is probably going to happen. My character absolutely was a first kill character in a horror movie. My character was absolutely the one who walked outside into the woods telling everybody, don't worry, I'll be back. That's exactly who I was, and I knew what I was walking into, and I was fine with that. So I think as long as player and DM kind of have that expectation, that there's not a problem here. If they're being actively disruptive to other players, Stealing Spotlight, which comes up later, probably being part 2. There's something you need to address, but for the most part, remember that it is collaborative, but everyone at the table should be having fun, which means sometimes people will play slightly zanier characters because it's fun, or slightly more serious characters because it's fun. And oftentimes you'll see people doing that. Once again, different problem behavior if they're not, but there's a part of them that are like, yes, I want to play a character that is highly dichotomous to the world you're created. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. The next one I have listed here is the power gaming player. There's a level here of nuance because there's min-maxers and there's munchkins. They say power gamers fixate on exploiting game mechanics, often seeking loopholes, or demanding advantages. If your player is demanding advantages, you're a munchkin. If you're somebody who's just optimizing a character build, you're a min-maxer, and those are two different levels of irritating. They may metagame or try to force the DM to accept game-breaking strategies. And, yeah, metagaming is kind of on here later as well. I had to double check. And yeah, there's other things that kind of, for people who like metagame. Metagaming is something I've touched on before, and it's just a very hard thing to talk about because a certain level of metagaming is just expected, especially in a game like Dungeons & Dragons specifically. These apply to any tabletop role-playing game, but Dungeons & Dragons specifically, metagaming is so hard to get rid of because if you've been in this culture for any amount of time, you know full well about dragons and their shape-shifting. You know trolls and their regeneration and how to overcome the regeneration. You know the 5 types of chromatic dragons. You might even know the 5 types of metallic dragons. You know orc culture, and you know kobold culture, you know goblin culture, and you know the elemental planes, and like, seriously, in the comments, see if you can name all 5 chromatic dragons. No, metallic dragons, sorry. Everybody knows the 5 chromatic dragons. Red, fire, blue, lightning, white, ice, green, poison, black, acid. Everybody knows those. But there's just a certain level of understanding of what Dungeons & Dragons is that comes with the territory. Their solution here is emphasize the importance of storytelling and role-playing over mechanics. Oh, I fucking hate that so much. This fucking idea, encourage flexibility and make sure the narrative takes priority over technical advantages. Almost I use this list for this particular reason, because this is such a fucking problem in the discourse among D&D players. So in older editions, when you rolled down the line, 3d6 down the line, and you came up with a character that was kind of garbage, and, well, playing a character with no intelligence and no dexterity and no wisdom is a role-playing. No, it's not. You can play optimal characters and still roleplay. I had a friend. I'm not going to say his name. I haven't talked to him in years. I'd love to get back in touch with him. He was a good, great friend of mine. I loved him dearly. I'm just going to call him Pete. The man optimized characters to no end. He created these extremely effective, optimized characters. Man, I'm already 20 minutes in. I'm going to have to make this a 3-parter. Oh, well. I'm just going to kind of keep going until I get close to the 40-minute mark and see where I'm at. Anyway, sorry. But he would create highly optimized characters, and I've come to, in my age, in my wisdom, realize I was kind of wrong because I get a little irritated with him breaking systems. I was kind of in the wrong there. Here's the thing about Dungeons and Dragons. It's a game. It's a game, or any tabletop role-playing game, honestly, it's a game with mechanics. There are going to be people who enjoy playing with the mechanical elements of Dungeons and Dragons, and that's okay in tabletop role-playing games, and that's okay. Here's the thing. My friend Pete, he built these crazy optimal characters. But you know what else he did? He fucking roleplayed. He roleplayed every one of them. He was always in character. He always was a joy to be around. His characters were fun. They were funny. They were memorable. We played an evil campaign, which was terrible, but this is where Pete was his character's name. He had another name, but I don't want to get too much into it because I'm not trying to expose him. But this Pete character was a funny fucking character, and we enjoyed it. And we played an Eberron campaign where he played this insane, like, 7-class whirling dervish character. But you know what he did? He played that fucking character. This idea that somehow players who want to actually optimize characters or who want to create, like, these optimal characters who want to play with the actual mechanical pieces of the game, they're not inherently bad role players. And characters who have people who have no interest in doing that and just slop together a fucking halfling barbarian who with no real optimization, they're not necessarily good role players. They're not fucking, diametrically opposed to each other. You can be a min-maxer and a good role player. This is such a fucking stupid take, and I hate it so fucking much. And I'm sorry, I'm just gonna call this out. The people who do this, you guys are fucking stupid, and you are hurting people who call out the power gamer as a problem. Are fucking hurting tabletop role-playing game. You are the problem player. That's right, you specifically, Steve. I see you out there. I know you're watching my videos, Steve. You fucking dick. You're the problem. The solution here is, here's the thing. You can optimize the character too much. So I kind of talked about this when I talked about, I've talked about this before, about how there are mechanical choices that will, if something happens to the camera, my cat is up on the table. Again, Rosie. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you don't give a shit, do you? People who are, like, mechanically, shit, I lost my train of thought. But, like, there's these people who think that, like, you can build a character that, like, if your character is, like, actively taking away from another character, like, let's say I build a wizard, and my wizard just can't, like, have a wizard and have a rogue in the party, and every time we come to a trap, or a locked door, or, something like that, my wizard is just taking over the role of the rogue. Locked door, I cast knock, it opens, there's a treasure chest, I cast knock, it pops open, and he just doesn't have a role in the party anymore because I've optimized my wizard to the, and wizards are the biggest problem with this because of their massive tool sets. Because people who play wizards are massive tools. Anyway. So... But the massive tool sets, versus, people who play paladins who just have massive tools. They can optimize other classes out of existence. And that's a bad feeling. So if you're at that point, it might be time for you, the DM, to outlaw certain spells, class abilities, items, things like that. And it's okay to do. Another friend on the channel, Josh, and this is the very first campaign he ran, so I'm not calling him out as a bad DM because he did what good DMs do, which is listen to advice and improve. But he created his first campaign. Me and Josh are good friends. We've been good friends since middle school. And because we were good friends, when he was giving out magic items in his campaign, he heavily favored me over other players. Common DM's girlfriend problem, and like I said, it was literally his first ever game he's ever run. We had a conversation with him, and because everybody at the table's adults, I just agreed to, like one of the items I had doubled my spells per day as a wizard, and this was Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition, so. And I literally just agreed, okay, retcon, it's nerfed, because it was a problem. My spell list was pushing other players out of a role. So you have a conversation, be like, look, man, this spell is solving too many problems. It's a problematic spell. We have to ban it. I don't really have any other way around it. And a good player should listen to that and be like, yeah, okay, and it hurts. It sucks to be told, hey, this tool you have, this toy you're playing with, you can't use it anymore. It sucks. It kind of hurts, but like sometimes it's just something you gotta do in the game. So yeah, if your power gaming player is pushing other characters out of a role, there's a problem. But if they're just building optimal characters, why are you taking that fun from them? Like, I don't know. It's such a bad take in my mind for people who are like, oh, there's no place for people. It should be about role play, and a lot of these people think role play just means social interactions, and that's a problem I'm gonna talk about in a few videos down. But yeah, like generally speaking, people who actually want to min-max are not a problem. Munchkins, if they're constantly begging for, and there's the cat. Come on, Rosie. Why don't you get down? Come on. I love you, Rosie, but you're disrupting the video again. Big gray cat energy right there. Super friendly, but super inconvenient. But yeah, now if they're like trying to break game loopholes or actively fighting a ruling you make, that's kind of a different thing too. Or begging for like these constant power boosts, that's a problem there and it needs to be addressed. And the easiest way as a DM to address it is no. Hey, I found this cool, what do you call it? Homebrew character. No. It's got a wizard spell progression and a fighter's base attack bonus. And it has 6 good saves, which would be all the saves in 5th edition. And no. No. You can't have it. No. Even official licensed products, as a DM, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say, no, I'm sorry, the Artificer is just too... I mean, I'm using that as an example because it's like 5th edition's only expanded class. Or just be like, no, I'm sorry, Order of the fucking Ninja Paladin, whatever, is a broken class. I don't know all the orders for the Paladin. No. Or a broken subclass. No, you can't use it. And it's okay to do that. Next one I have is the easily distracted player. And guess what? I agree this is actually problem player behavior. Kind of. So they say a player is often sidetracked during the game by external distractions, irrelevant conversations, fuck you, or on their phone. Yeah. They can derail a story with chaotic antics, out-of-character discussions, or constantly asking for a recap of what's just happened. First thing about the out-of-character discussions, Dungeons & Dragons is a social gathering with people who are friends, generally speaking. And in a lot of cases, like, I'm 40, like, I have a full life. I have, a wife and kids. I have a 40-hour-a-week job. I have this I do. I have other projects I'm working on. I have a full life. I don't have a shit ton of time to just go hang out with my buddies. So yeah, sometimes D&D is a place for me to tell, my friend, Tony, Tony, who's Dead Eye Pony on Twitch. If you want to check out his channel, he does a lot of horror games. But yeah, Dead Eye Pony, DeadeYepony. So like, if something weird happens, D&D night's the time I get to talk to him to be like, oh, dude, I have this fucking crazy story about what happened to me at work this week. Yeah, sorry. I think phone usage can be a little problematic, especially modern now. Like, people have like die rollers and character sheets on their phones, and it can get very easy to just kind of be on it, and then somebody else is something, and then to kind of just already have your phone in hand, and quickly switch over to like TikTok, Facebook, X, or Twitter, or whatever the fuck you want to call Elon Musk's little project. But constantly disrupting game. Like I said, the constant like, okay, what's going on? What happened? And then you have to kind of go over shit you've already gone over maybe 2-3 times. Can be a problem. Their solutions encourage focus and respect for the group's time. Suggest setting phones aside and keeping conversations relevant. Once again, problem is a lot of people have their die roller and their character sheets on their phones. I'm not a fan of that. I'm big into pen and pencil, paper, and actual physical dice, but that's a me preference. If the player behavior continues, discuss the tone and goals of the campaign to align with expectations. Once again, their advice just tends to be stop. I don't think that's as helpful. That's a super helpful way of going about it. I think that telling somebody just stop this is and I think that if they're distracted, there's a deeper problem here. Why are they are they just here at D&D night to hang out with their friends? Are they not? And another, not really much you can do there. But another question: are they just not being engaged? Like, are they easily distracted because they want some action? They want some, play and impact and action. They built, this barbarian. And once again, like I said, session 0 can do this, but, obviously what might happen is, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is going to be a big adventure, this big world-trying adventure, and just something has happened, and now the players are kind of spending huge amounts of time in the court of, Winterhelm or whatever the fuck. And now this character who's like, yeah, I built this fucking adventure, I built, Indiana Jones or Conan the Barbarian, and I'm stuck in fucking, courts and balls. There's a testicle joke there somewhere. Don't quite have it. I'll leave that for you guys to do the testicle joke about being stuck to balls. But like, I had a DM, and I like this DM. I really did. He good guy. Actually, best man at my wedding. I'm just gonna say his name. His name was Nick. Because on the fucking weird off chance that he comes across this video, please, Nick, I haven't talked to in years, and I don't know anyone who even has. Get a hold of me, man. Like, I want to get back with you. And I know this is a weird thing to kind of pop out half an hour into a video, but like, for real, dude, like, get a hold of me, man. Like, I want to talk to you again. But anyway, he kind of had this over-descriptive problem as a DM, where he would do paragraph after paragraph after paragraph of everything that we saw and we smelled and we heard and we felt, and every little rat scurrying along the street, and how the tallest and kind of here to just play. I'm kind of here to play a game. Like, I get it. Like, I get the idea of the descriptive play. After like the 5th building, I've sat here for 10 minutes each building listening to you describe every time I've walked down a street. I'm kind of like, man, I want to get some action, and I kind of want to like interact with this world and not just be told about it, not just be sightseeing it. I might do a problem GM thing at some point. Probably will, and that's a little harder one to talk about, but this is certainly one of the problem DM behaviors, is like sightseeing, where the DM goes on these long things trying to describe his world building, which is cool. World building is great, but like, I also want a chance to interact with the world that you've built. And so I would get distracted because, I'm kind of done listening to the world. But nice, he was a great DM. He actually was. He was very intelligent. He listened a lot, and once again, as with any of bad DM issues, a lot of the thing is when players are like, and sometimes it takes more than one discussion, but be like, hey, can you just like shorten these descriptions? Like, I have a picture of what the city looks like. Cool. Show us the picture and let us, describe one or two key things. Let us run around this world. Let us interact with it. But like I said, one of the other things you can talk about is like, I'm like, okay, but I'm bored in this court setting, or another DM who was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be heavy into social, heavy into role play. Once again, don't like that term. You can role play in combat. I've said it before, and I will bang this drum like something sexual. I am really off my game on jokes today, but I will bang this fucking drum. You can role play in combat. Anyway, but like, if this game is just fight after fight after fight, just wave after wave of disposable goblins and fucking zombies and orcs, I might be getting bored. I'll be like, oh, come on, can we like do something else? Like, these fights are just slogs and I'm so bored. I've just found that the easily distracted player a lot of time is an issue with engagement. It's an issue with them not being engaged with what's going on in your setting. And it might be a time to sit down and have a talk with them and just be like, hey, I noticed you're kind of like not feeling it. What's going on? Like, do you want more combat? Do you want more social interaction? Do you want more exploration? Do you want less description, more description? Are you feeling detached from the world? Are you feeling like you're being overwhelmed with description? Like, what am I doing that's not holding your attention? And a lot, they might not be able to really tell you, but just keep gauging. Like, if you find that that what's called when they're starting to do that shit is when you're, hey, come on, that's my water, honey. When they're starting to glaze over is during like long periods of social interaction. Maybe try to truncate those a little bit and get them to some more exploration, some more combat, whatever. Like I said, the easily distracted player is often a problem with engagement, not the actual player. Sometimes it is the player just who's like, I want to hang out with my friends, and they happen to play D&D on Saturdays, so I'm just here playing D&D. Rosie, get down. And there's just nothing you can do about that, other than tell them not to play, but that's kind of a dick thing to do when you're talking about like these social interactions. That just might be a thing you got to deal with. It might just be like, hey, can you try to like keep some of it to a minimum because you're distracting everybody else. But I mean, that is what it is. The next one I have is the rules lawyer player. Rules lawyer is overly fixated on strict adherence to the rules, often disputing DM's decisions or attempting to manipulate rules for personal benefit. Their solution: remind them that D&D is about fun and storytelling. It is about fun. I will get into that. And not just rules. Encourage a balance between rules and creativity. Make it clear the DM's rulings are part of the collaborative narrative. Yes, the DM's rulings are final. Here's the thing. You're playing with the rule set. If you just wanted collaborative storytelling, you guys can do collaborative storytelling exercises. The rules are there because it is a structured collaborative storytelling exercise. It has structure. It's not just playing cops and robbers with your friends. Be like, bang, got you. Nuh-uh, yeah. It's not that. That's not what Dungeons and Dragons is. It's got a lot of board game elements. It's almost like telling a collaborative storytelling over a board game. The rules exist for a reason. To structure your storytelling. The reason why a barbarian can't just suddenly cast fireball. Because the rule's structured, and it's mostly so that everyone at the table is supposed to have kind of a balanced experience. And there are rules-heavy, rules-light games. You've got games like, I can't remember the exact name, but it's from Phoenix Command. Crazy crunchy game. Like, ridiculously rule-heavies. To the point where there's rules for bullet droppage. And then there's really rules-light games like Fate. Which, generally speaking, is just pick one of your skills, roll the Fate die, and then determine what happens from there. And they go among the gambit. Dungeons and Dragons itself is a little on the crunchier side. It's a little more on the structured side, which is okay if that's what you're playing. And there's this weird... Once again, I'm going to get to it because I have a lot to say about it, but like, I'm kind of spoiling what's coming up in a few episodes. Idea that D&D is entirely a narrative thing, and it's not. It's never been. Nor really do we want it to be. If you wanted pure collaborative storytelling, you would just have collaborative storytelling. And here's the other thing. Much like the Power Gamer, some people find fun in memorizing rules, in, mastering the system. One of my favorite podcasts, System Mastery. Shout out to you guys. But there's, like, people who enjoy it. And now, if they're constantly arguing with the DM's rulings, there's a problem. And a lot of times, because if there's something, and the DM will sometimes just improvise. I think, boom, I think this, I think this, I think this. Is it what's in the rules? No. But also, you're also not wanting to spend 45 minutes digging up that specific rule for how Bec de Corbans can trip a character off a horse. Like, you can be like, fuck it, roll post strength checks. The solution to this is defer to the rules lawyer to rule sometimes. Just every once in a while, just be like, hey, what's the rule for this? Even if you know the rule, if they're a rules lawyer, like I said, maybe not arguing with you all the time, but if they're the kind of people who really, really are into like memorizing how the rules work, even if you know the rule, maybe defer to them every once in a while to keep them engaged. Like, hey, what's the rule? What's the rule for this particular grapple? And be like, oh yeah, no, he would roll a strength check, and then the other person rolls an escape artist check, and okay, cool. Like, and you maybe DM knew that, but like, he gets a chance to like feel good about the fact that he has memorized these rules, because if you've memorized the rules in Dungeons and Dragons, you're fucking engaged with the game. You really, not even just Dungeons and Dragons. If you're playing fucking Mech Warrior, and it's like, oh shit, what are the rules for an LRM-5? Oh, the range band is XYZ, and then you roll to see how many missiles hit, and every missile does 1 point of damage. Because long-range missiles have longer range, do less damage. SRMs, short-range missiles, have shorter range, but they do 2 damage per hit instead of 1. Just showing off a little tiny bit of my Mech Warrior knowledge. It's about a fourth of what Josh on the channel knows. Probably not even that. Probably even less than that. Probably like a tenth of what he knows. But I'm going to show off a little bit of my knowledge there. Just to, let you know that I actually do know some about Mech Warrior. And those of you who are sick of GW, come to our side. No, we're cool. Come play with us. We're not going to shut down every fucking thing you make because you've made a fan video. But like I said, and if they are just constantly arguing, especially if all they're arguing is for their favor, that's a little different. That just has to be rule 0. Hey, remember rule 0. The DMs say it's final. But if they're just like trying to correct rules or things like that, they understand the rules, and let them understand the rules. And defer to them. Just let them keep them engaged. They will feel good about their knowledge of the rules. They will stay engaged because you have, as DM, actively engaged them as a player the way they want to be played. The same way people who want big social interactions, you play an NPC and let them do that. Or the same way a player who wants combat, you play monsters and let them fight. People who want to master the rules, let them show off their mastery of the rules. Let them show off how much they understand the game mechanics. It'll make them feel good, and it doesn't fucking hurt anyone. And you will find far less pointless arguments about rules if you just do it every once in a while. Like, whatever. I actually have a player at the table I used to play at before everything kind of fell apart, who understood the rules for D&D 5th edition inside and out. And the DM every once in a while would just ask him, hey, how does that rule work? And he would tell him, and just because you're the DM doesn't mean you can't defer to players for rules. It's another one of those really toxic things in tabletop role-playing communities where there's this idea that the DM has to be completely sanctioned off from the players. No, he doesn't. He's part of the group too. And, you know, it's okay to defer to players for rules. It's okay to ask for help as a DM. You're not an island. I'm at 45 minutes. This one's kind of a shorter one, so I'll go ahead and do this and I'll cut off for next week. That is the lone wolf player. Player isolates themselves from the group. They might create tension or conflict by antagonizing others, either in character or out, or play a character who is bent on going their own way. This is a legit problem. Player behavior. They say reinforce the importance of teamwork and collaboration, encourage them to consider the party cohesion with making decisions, and highlight the advantages of group play. If they're a lone wolf player, if you say, hey, you're better off in a group, they're not gonna listen. Honestly, more than anything, I find this a problem with newer players who aren't used to the collaborative storytelling method. Generally speaking, I see it gets weeded out as players. Not always. There are people in there who've been playing for decades who still do this shit, but generally speaking, this is worse in new players than it is in experienced players. And the God's honest truth is, as DM, you just kind of gotta push them into that situation. If they're off on their own, like if they are being antagonistic toward the party, if they're doing PvP, as a DM, I do not allow PvP at my table. Some DMs do, I do not. If you're like, I'm gonna steal from the fighter, I'm just as DM going to say no. It is going to cause so much tension in the party. The answer is no. If they get into town and they want to wander off, like, oh, I'm gonna go off by myself and sit in the corner, be like, all right, fine, but like the rest of the party's here, and I'm not. And you can just tell them as DM, like, look, I'm not gonna shut down the other 4 players at the table just to cater to you. You're more than welcome to join the group. You can sit off to the corner and listen and not interact, if that's the kind of character you want to play. But no, I'm not going to. But no, KNOW, understand, I'm not going to shut down the game to cater to you sitting in the corner and doing whatever it is you're doing. I can't do that. It's not fair to the other players. Like I said, you can join in. If you think that your character wouldn't, you can sit off and still listen into the conversation, but know that it's... And you'll just find that this behavior, doing little things like that, if they wander off on their own in a dungeon, you might have to kill that character once or twice. Be like, look, man, you made a poor choice. And if they're a newer player, maybe let them retcon that. Be like, oh, I'm going to do this. And you're like, okay, I'll let you know if you do that, you're probably going to fucking die, dude. Like, please make a better decision. It's different like a rogue scouting, but like if the character just specifically... like I said, the only thing you can do as a DM is just push. Just give them a little pushback. Like I said, for the most part, this is a new player problem, and I had a friend I played with who used to do this, and he has now, in the years since playing, completely removed that and now plays very, very teamwork-oriented characters. I had a character who kind of did this, and after a couple character deaths, is just like, man, I don't think this is the game for me. And I'm like, it might not be. Like, I know you think this is going to be like Skyrim, but this isn't Skyrim. Like, we're not playing Skyrim where you are the one guy who can do everything he needs to do. And I think he just didn't have fun being a team player. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. D&D might not be the game for you. Once again, talking about gatekeeping, that is one of the things is if you're somebody who doesn't want to be into a collaborative storytelling, this isn't the game for you. And that's okay. I don't think everyone should play D&D. Some people just aren't really right for it. And maybe that is you. If you're the lone wolf player, if you only want to go off by your own and, be an annoying edgelord, fine. There are ways to play a lone wolf character, like one who has one person he trusts, and that's a member of the group. Or, like I said, if you're kind of this character kind of shadows the group because he feels like he can't trust anyone, but like he's still trying to get a mission accomplished, and through the course of the game learns to open up and trust. That's different. And if that's the kind of character you're playing, one that's learning to trust, make it clear with the DM that that's kind of where you want your arc to go, so he understands. You can still play a little not toxic, it's not toxic. Problem. You can still play a little bit irritating, and maybe the DM might have to kind of be like, "Hey, dude, you're kind of pushing this shit." But like, yeah, just. It usually gets weeded out, but we're at 51 minutes and I still got a lot to go. So I'm going to cut the video here. I'm going to try to link this article in the description below. Also in the description below, you will find the link to the Chaos Infinity Discord server, where 90% of the time we just post memes and pictures of our pets. So, like... so if you want to support what I do here, I'm not going to do this every video, but just let you know, I will post what my Cash App and my PayPal is. If you want to throw $2, $3 my way to help fund this, as well as other projects I'm working on, I would appreciate it. But I'm making this video kind of for fun for me, this series of videos, and also just kind of get it out there, kind of get these things out there, to 15 people who watch this. I do appreciate all 15 of you. People who comment, even constructively criticizing comments. I do appreciate all the things that you say. I do take it all into consideration if you're not being a complete asshole about it. But yeah, alright, I'm going to cut it off here and we'll try again next week. See where we go from there. So I will see you next Monday.